Welcome everybody. This is our first podcast of a series over the next months and weeks. Today we're joined by Tim Freestone, Director of Sales Engineering from Everfox. He's here to tell us more about Everfox as a brand, given it's a brand new launch. Not a lot of you might know about it just yet. So Tim, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi there, Tim Freestone. I run the sales engineering team at Everfox outside of the US, so that includes the UK and our rest of world customers.
And for all you partners, I'm Tom Chapman. I'll be your aligned BDM at Arrow. So we distribute Everfox in the UK, and it's the start of a new partnership, so it's very exciting. So Tim, just on that note, can you tell me a bit more about Everfox, who you are, for those that may not have heard of you before?
Yeah, so Everfox is a new name. The name's only been around since January this year, so a brand new name for people, but the company's been around for over 25 years. Started life as Raytheon cybersecurity products. They acquired a number of smaller solution providers in the US, cross-domain solutions and insider risk technologies. And at some point that became ForcePoint. So ForcePoint is a sort of a cybersecurity provider. And the division of ForcePoint that focused on global governments and critical infrastructure was eventually then spun out to become Everfox, and that happened about this time last year, but is now sort of the world leading probably cybersecurity provider for high assurance systems, so for governments and critical infrastructure. We acquired Deep Secure from the UK a couple of years ago, one of the leading providers in the UK for this sort of technology, and then this year also acquired Garrison, so another hardware security based provider. So really putting all those things together, we probably are the leading sort of provider of high assurance cybersecurity to those sort of markets. And our customers are sort of typically what you'd expect: central government, defence, intelligence agencies, but then also people like critical infrastructure, so energy providers, banking, finance and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so a few sort of common vendor names that you guys might have come across before with Deep Secure, ForcePoint, so hopefully that's helping you sort of start to build a picture up of who Everfox are and where they've come from, what they've done in the past. So Tim, what differentiates your products and services from your sort of standard commercial security provider?
So yeah, I mean, we always say we're not for everybody. So we do provide what we would say is high assurance cybersecurity, and the high assurance really means that you can trust that what we say it's going to do, it will do. And our customers rely on that. They can't just do best efforts. So if you think of who the customers are, defence, government, there are quite clearly lives at stake in some cases, or some major things that we have to make sure are working for our customers. So and we get that high assurance through a number of ways. So we have very secure development practices. So we have a development team, or development teams actually around the world, that really have to use the secure by design practices and segregate their networks and all sorts of good things just to keep the development in a good way. But then we also get the assurance through independent testing. So our solutions have to go through independent testing to make sure that they do what they say they do. We get accreditations when we're delivered into solutions as well. So it's all about making sure that what we say the products are going to do, that they will actually do when it comes down to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So safe to say, a fairly niche technology, but nevertheless very crucial in, I suppose, the world, right? So just diving into technology a bit more and the individual products, I've seen the sort of three core technologies. Can you explain a bit more about sort of CDR and what that does?
Yeah, so CDR is a really interesting technology. It stands for content disarm and reconstruction. And it was really born out of the fact that the current ways of stopping malware, and we all know that malware is increasingly a problem and just won't go away. The current ways of dealing with malware are just not good enough for the sorts of customers that we're dealing with. So, the current ways of detecting whether there is some malware in a system, they can be pretty high percentage rates. They can be up in the 90s of detection rates, but actually that's not good enough if you're trying to defend a nation, especially from nation-state attackers. So this technology was born out of the fact that technology, that detection technology, isn't good enough for those sort of customers. And content disarm and reconstruction is a different way of looking at solving the problem. And it's all about, rather than trying to detect whether there's malware in some data that you're moving around, we actually just clean it. So we take it apart. So there's the disarm phase, which is we take the information that's in the content and we disarm it. So we take it all apart and make sure that everything that we have, once we've taken it apart, is completely safe before we reconstruct it again. And at Everfox, the way we do CDR is that we don't let any of the original data come into the network. Now that sounds a bit strange, it sounds a bit weird that you're not letting any original data in, but it's the only way to make sure that you deliver safe, clean data. So we don't let any of the original data in, but we build a picture of what the data looked like, and we build brand new content and deliver that.
Which links back to the high assurance element, right?
Exactly that, yeah. So CDR as a technology has proven to be really effective against not just known malware that sort of standard antivirus software and the like can deal with, but actually zero-day malware. And that's the important stuff, because that's what's going to be used against our target customers.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of CDR then, where does that typically get used? What sort of verticals, customer base would our partners be best looking into that?
So sort of various places really. So if you imagine the sort of core vectors that you get attacked by, it's things like email, it's web browsing. When you have things like customer portals, if you're a bank, for example, and you've got customer portals where people are uploading application forms or know your customer data, that sort of thing, that's where you're likely to be attacked, is by people that are able to inject malware into those sort of vectors. So by providing CDR as plugins to those sort of technologies like email, like web browsing, and when you download a file, or file portals, that can be a really effective way of stopping malware getting into your system for just standard enterprises. And that works true for government and defence as well when they're interacting with the internet. But the other place that CDR is key is also in cross-domain technology, which we can maybe talk about in a second. But in cross-domain technology, you're moving data maybe into classified networks. And again, you need to make sure that that's really clean and safe to be able to do that. So CDR plays a key role there as well.
No, 100%. So you mentioned cross-domain solutions. Again, that's another one of Everfox's core technologies. What is a cross-domain solution?
Yeah, it's a term that is used in defence and government more than anywhere else, I guess. And that's because within government there are a number of domains, you might say. So classified networks are a good example. Within government there are multiple classification levels, and things like secret, top secret, and in the UK we have official, which is like our sort of unclassified networks. And in other countries they do the same thing. And these are all sort of separate domains. And they have sort of separate security requirements. And cross-domain really is about how do you either move data between those networks securely, or how do you access data within those networks securely. So there are sort of two types of technology for cross-domain. There's something we call cross-domain transfer, which is very much about safely moving data across boundaries, and then cross-domain access, which is how do I look into another network and just visualize and see the data without actually moving it. And both play a really important role within those sort of customers, so within defence and government. But actually, cross-domain also exists elsewhere. It's just maybe not called cross-domain. So if you look at critical infrastructure and you look at things like operational technology, OT networks, they have the same problem. They want to protect those networks and make sure that nothing can get in, or sensitive data can't get out. So they have the same issues, but they might not call them cross-domain solutions. So in those cases, it might be called an air-gap solution, but it's effectively the same technology.
Yeah. So you said earlier CDR is part of CDS and that they're linked. How is that?
So once certainly when you're moving data around, so if I want to move data, say from the internet into a secret government network, I have to be really sure that data is not going to cause any compromise in my secret network. That's the worst thing that can happen. So you really have to make sure that as that data is ingested, it's completely safe. In the old days, that would have been let's run AV scanning on it. Let's run maybe multiple AV engines, maybe do some sandboxing to see if it's malicious data. But now we have this CDR technology. We can make sure that we actually just clean the data as it comes in. We don't even need to look to see whether it's good or bad, but we can bring data up into those classified networks and know that they're safe.
And again, you've got that assurance that the data's going to be clean when it comes through, right?
Exactly. So once it's then in the network, people can access it, open it, read it, etc., modify it, in the knowledge that it is safe to interact with.
So to me, CDS sounds in a way it operates similar to a firewall, or they do a very similar job. How do they differentiate?
Yeah, I would say a firewall is probably a key part of a CDS, but not the whole thing. So a firewall is almost like the initial check that you might have. So if you imagine when you go to an airport, the first thing you'll do is go and sort of hand over your passport, and somebody will ask you, what flight you're on and whatever, and you might get a boarding pass. That's a very sort of high level check, and that's equivalent to what a firewall might do. So it will do sort of checking of where's the data coming from, and at a high level, what is it containing.
So the initial phase.
But it's very much the initial phase. But then beyond that, the cross-domain solution has to do a lot more. So if you imagine then, again, going back to the airport analogy, you're going to go through a security check, and that's where that's much more defined, and you're having to sort of have a look much more deeply into what is actually allowed in. So that's where you'd use, for example, the CDR technology to make sure everything's safe.
Got you. So can you just provide a couple more examples of sort of where CDS would be specifically used, maybe some use cases?
Yeah, so again, similar in a way to CDR in that, when you're working in those segregated networks, whether that's an operational technology network or whether it's a classified system or a segregated banking network, they all need access to information. To be able to work efficiently, you need access to information. And so, the CDS use cases are very much about how do I work as efficiently and as normally as I can. So if I want to use email, how do I email with people outside of my network? I need to put that through some sort of cross-domain solution. Or if I'm within a secret network, for example, how do I browse the internet safely without all the dangers of browsing the internet that I would normally have? So how do I sort of access down to those lower layers without compromise? So very much about trying to keep business as normal as you can by putting cross-domain solutions in to allow that information to flow.
Absolutely. So obviously at the start we mentioned that there's 3 core technologies to Everfox, the third of those being insider risk. How does that fit with the other technologies, the first 2 that you've just mentioned?
Yeah, so insider risk is sort of a different technology on the face of it. So far we've talked about stopping attacks really getting into our core networks, our really important networks, our segregated networks. Insider risk is almost looking at it from the other side. So how do I stop people on the inside from compromising my network? But it's actually a much wider technology than that as well. So insider risk is all about how can I monitor user behavior effectively to spot when things are not right, whether it's suspicious, malicious, etc., and make sure that somebody on the inside can't be, for example, leaking information out or disrupting my business from the inside. And it's a real problem, but it's something that has been known about and dealt with for many years in the government space because of those critical networks.
Now, I feel like insider risk is one of those things people often, I wouldn't say forget about, but maybe slips to mind in terms of putting precautions in place. I think I saw a stat a few years ago, 80% of sort of all cyber attacks come from sort of an insider within the organisation, whether that's somebody being maybe a bit complacent or perhaps doing something maliciously with intent. But no, it's good to know you guys are all over that, and you've got sort of solutions to combat it. So how does a typical sort of engagement with an Everfox customer look like from sort of start to finish, I guess?
Yeah, I guess to start with, there's probably no one typical engagement, so it can vary greatly. So certainly our customers, if you look at sort of government and defence type customers, it can be quite slow moving sometimes. They have big programs and we have to sort of fit into those, but very much it's about awareness to start with, so education and awareness about both what we do and also what is needed and what technology is out there. So we do a lot of awareness training, education, seminars, that sort of thing. But then when it gets down to sort of requirements, then we work quite closely with the customer and partners to really try and work out what the problems are, what we're trying to solve, and what outcomes that they want. So, you know, what are the key requirements that are driving what they need? And then once we've done that, we can start to introduce our technology, see how that might solve those requirements. That often comes down to doing things like proof of concepts. So we will look to either do a demonstration of the technology, or maybe we can do a proof of concept where we leave the technology with the customer, and we can guide them through various use cases to see if that meets their need. And then once we've done the proof of concept, you know, that's really leading up to getting what we would call a technical win. So, you know, we want to make sure that technically what we have is going to meet their need.
Of course, yeah.
And then after that, it's really about delivering the solutions and supporting them sort of through their lifetime. And, you know, some of our customers, we're putting things maybe on ships that are going to be sailing and around for 10, 15 years. So it has to be a really long-term support as well. It's not just a sort of short-term thing.
100%. And just going back to what you said at the start there about training, in terms of our partner community, can they access this training online? Is there a portal they can use for that?
Yeah, very much so. So we're delivering and developing our training all the time. But yeah, there's various enablement materials. We find that we do two sorts of training. The more formal training, which is very much sort of classroom-based training, but actually what works most effectively is working closely with the customer as well, and more in a workshop style. So, and that becomes a knowledge transfer activity where we can work with them, we can talk through how they're configuring and setting up things, and really do that knowledge transfer as well. So yeah, both are available.
So finally, how would you personally sort of describe Everfox as an organisation as a whole?
So yeah, I mean, we're critical, I guess, to the national security of the UK and the US and allied nations. So it's really important part of that whole national security. We're quite a large company now and growing all the time. So we've got global reach, which means we can start to do the same thing in other nations as well. But we're also an agile company, so you know, as we grow, we're still maintaining agility, so we're still able to respond to new requirements quickly and to look at new technologies. I think research is a key part of what we do, so understanding what the new technologies are and how they can help. You know, things like artificial intelligence, obviously big at the moment, and you know, we're very much part of those discussions and how that can be used to help what we do, but also how do we protect those new technologies. So yeah, no, it's great to be part of this sort of organisation that's making the world safer.
No, absolutely, 100%. I mean, from what you've told me today, I mean, you can see how crucial a technology such as Everfox is in the current state of the world today, I suppose, right, and the current affairs that are going on. So yeah, it's been good to understand that a bit more, and hopefully our partners have gained insight from this.
So yeah, thanks Tom for those questions, and sort of turning the tables slightly, I've got a few questions for you, if that's okay, on just how Arrow can add value to these solutions. So I guess first of all, you know, there might be some partners out there that haven't worked with Everfox before. How can Arrow help with on the technical sort of pre-sales side, making sure that we maximise our opportunities with customers?
Yeah, no, so it's an important question. Obviously, we're aware Everfox is a new logo to a lot of people and a lot of our partner base. We're aware that, you know, a lot of these partners might not have the expertise or resource just yet, certainly in the first instance. So that's why we're here again as Arrow. We can fully support with scoping requirements, you know, configuring bombs, bills of materials, and all our SEs and solutions architects internally will be fully certified for the vendor. And be able to help us as an extension as Everfox is the way I like to think of it. Obviously they'll work closely with your team as well, I imagine. So there's going to be plenty of support between, again, ourselves as Arrow and Everfox. So rest assured that we can help with any sort of technical requirements you may have.
Yeah, perfect, thank you. And I guess for some customers out there, their budgets are going to be aligned to either OPEX or CAPEX. If it's OPEX based, are there things that Arrow can do to help there?
Yeah, 100%. So we've sort of recently relaunched our sort of finance offering, now called Arrow Payment Solutions. So on there we can do things such as deferred payments, where we can defer from 30 to 120 days. In some circumstances we can go beyond that. I've seen deals go up to 180 to 365. But again, that can fit around any requirement and budget, any issue. It's a matter of just getting in touch with us. We'll see how we can help combat that best. And I think the key takeaway from that is it allows the full revenue to be recognised up front, whilst again splitting that payment, whether it's annually, quarterly, monthly. We can help with that.
Oh, that sounds great, and that'll be really useful. And I guess going back to sort of similar to the first question, really, that was sort of about pre-sales, but how can you help on the professional services, on the delivery side for installation and configuration, that sort of thing? Yeah,
so we've got an array of partners that we work with as Arrow. All of these are SC cleared, so again, there's no requirement too big, too small that we can help with. Whether, again, that's installation, sort of POCs, that kind of thing. Like I say, we've got a lot of partners to help with that. We can do that across our entire line card. So, any vendor you purchase from Arrow, you're covered. And even with vendors that we don't offer as well, we've got companies that can help with that. So, I like to think we've got a nice array of partners to work with, which covers all bases.
Fantastic, thank you. So for this next question, we're going to talk a bit about marketing. So we've got Ben Musgrove here from marketing to be able to answer that question. So obviously with Everfox recently launching this year as a new brand, a new company, how can Arrow help with our marketing efforts to sort of ensure maximum exposure?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Everfox, and then also with all of the vendors that we have in our line card, there's a whole team that's dedicated to marketing, whether that's for our vendors and also for our partners as well. There's so many things that we can actually do around marketing that I think a lot of partners just aren't aware of that we can actually do. We've worked on campaigns with partners before on lead generation, on webinar hosting, event management and event sponsorship, etc. as well. So even things like creating assets for a lot of for marketing to their customers as well. Yep. We do all of this in the background. We do all of this behind the scenes that kind of the partners can kind of white label as their own offerings to their customers as well. So like I said, we've got a whole team. Myself, obviously, I'm looking after Everfox. So for any kind of marketing opportunities, what I always say to partners is just come and ask the question. Just say, is this something that you can help out with, or have you got any ideas what we can do around this? And similar to what Tom mentioned earlier, we kind of see that as us being a bit of an extension of a partner as well, so we can kind of come up with some ideas or think of some different ways on how they can then market Everfox and other vendors to their customers as well, if sometimes they don't have the resource or they need a bit of assistance on doing it.
Thank you.
It's okay.
So we'll switch our attention now to more of a commercial-based series of questions. I'm joined by Lauren Marsden from Everfox. If you want to just quickly introduce yourself, give a bit of background about your role.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So I'm Lauren Marsden. I'm the Senior Director for Channel at Everfox. My key role is just to work with distribution and also channel partners, across the board. So
in terms of the channel, how does the channel play a part now in selling these Everfox solutions?
I think for us, channel is really key in going to market and selling, getting our solutions out into the market. We currently offer a 2-tier model, which is through ourselves on to you as distribution and channel partners.
So just touching again on what I sort of briefly mentioned with Tim earlier around training and enablement, what do you guys offer to our partners in terms of that?
So partners can get involved at varying levels, whether it be sales, pre-sales, and even moving on to engineering and, kind of the final stage of support services. And so from an enablement standpoint, we have a number of options, which is where we can have tailor-made, whatever level a partner wants to work at. And so we can support the partner with the sales to understand kind of opportunities in the market, features and benefits of our products. Moving on to pre-sales, where They can have access to virtual demo capabilities and be able to work with their customers on opportunities. And like we mentioned, the sales and installation services, where a partner, can really go to the final level of where they can install the opportunity. We talked previously about, service offerings, and I think it's key that we can work with a number of partners to be able to install the Everfox solutions. And, the final stage is where they can then provide services to their customers on behalf of Everfox.
Yeah, and that's ultimately the sort of end goal, if you like, right?
Absolutely, yeah, and 100% we're open to working with the partners to get them to that level.
That sounds good. So in terms of partners, I mean, a lot of partners will be watching this and they'll be sort of starting to build up a picture of how Everfox is relevant to them. What does an ideal partner look like to you?
So typically we're looking for partners that have customers that are have a need for high assurance cybersecurity, whether it be into the defence space, government space. But what I would say is, Everfox is probably new to a number of partners, and so for me, any partner to just get in touch and we can look at what offerings we can provide for them.
So if these partners start getting in touch with us, how do they then lead on to becoming an Everfox partner?
So it's easy really. They head across to our website, which is www.everfox.com.
Nice and easy.
Nice and easy. There's a section on the website which is become a partner. You simply complete your details, which is a real simple form. That comes across to us and then we would be in touch around onboarding you as a partner. There is also other services where the partner can then sign up to our dedicated partner portal, where they have access to things like deal registration and further details around the partner program. The partner program itself, I'll just touch on to that a little bit. Yep. We have a 3-tiered partner program, which is gold, silver and authorised, mainly governed by the revenue achieved. But also, from becoming a partner, you have the ability to register an opportunity, and that's not only on opportunities that you bring to us, that's also on opportunities that we are maybe working with you as a key partner of Everfox, and we will make sure that you're protected with deal registration. So realistically, simple process, head across to the website, and then you'll gain access to our partner portal.
Okay.
Also within our partner portal, we've got a dedicated enablement hub, which allows partners to have access to lots of content and assets that can support them in speaking to their customers.
No, that sounds really good. It's really good. Well, thank you for your time, Lauren, Tim as well. This has sort of just been a quick fireside intro to Everfox. I hope all you guys watching have found it insightful and gained a bit more knowledge from this. But if you do have any questions, my contact details and Lauren's will be in the descriptions below. So feel free to get in touch and we're more than happy to have a chat with you.
Yeah, thanks Tom, thanks for today.